There's been a couple videos going around of Commonwealth of them having an entirely packed full stadium of 30,000 fans, and that's what it was like for pretty much the entire meet, where just tons of athletes or not athletes, tons of fans are at the Commonwealth Games. There are tons of fans that were in the stands there. Like it was completely filled out, and it was like that for even events that were non-finals. Like even during like decathlon, high jump, it was filled out. And so it goes to show that there is an ability to have these amount of fans here in the United States. And so when people are like, oh man, track and field isn't big here, it never will be, it's always gonna be lame, there's never gonna be people here, I don't buy that, because I'm seeing it in other disciplines. And sure, I don't think every single track meet is gonna look like that, because every single basketball game doesn't look like that. Every single sporting event and other things don't look like that. Like go to a Jets football game, against the Jaguars, it's not going to be filled out, but if you go to playoff games or other rivalry matchups, it will be. And so I think that there is an ability to have much better sellouts here. And so I think it's a few different things. So one is the education of track and field to the fans, and that's directed mainly through the media. And so one thing that they do better in the UK and Europe is the education of the sport for their fans and just the overall media attention that it has. Track and field is presented as one of the top sports when it comes to Europe. So it's over in, like they're talking about it a lot more. It's in their media outlets. People know who these athletes are. In the United States, that's not the case. In order to be broadcasted at all when it comes to SportsCenter or ESPN or anything like that, one, you have to be like a super notable name doing something super crazy, whether that's for the good or for the bad. We saw Sha'Carri Richardson getting a lot of talks when she got caught with her marijuana suspension. But when we see great things, we don't get a lot of attention. Like for example, Fred Kerley winning the World Championships, there really was no articles or anything on SportsCenter about what Fred Kerley was doing. So it doesn't get a lot of media attention. Also, take a look at Sports Illustrated. So before, if you take a look at the cover athletes for Sports Illustrated, there have been 74 track and field athletes on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The most have been Usain Bolt. So during the Usain Bolt era, he was on, I believe, like 7 or 8 different covers for Usain Bolt. Since the Bolt era has ended, there has only been 2 athletes on the cover, and those were both high school National Athlete of the Year. So it was Caitlin Toohey and Sydney McLaughlin. Those are the only other 2. There's never been any professional athletes outside of Usain Bolt on it. Before the Usain Bolt was on it, back in the 80s and 90s was when we saw a lot of athletes on it, even elite athletes. There was just random college athletes, there that weren't notable for, the size that we know. Like athletes that are much smaller than what a Fred Kerley is today was on it back in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. And so it's just not a notable, sport. And so that comes from the media. And so that's what we're trying to do here with Track World News, like get more people involved in the space. But it's also something where these larger media outlets have to have some dedication to it. Like, will we get some dedicated segments for track and field? If the answer is yes, then you're going to see more people watching it. But if the answer is no, then it's going to maintain and stay how it is, because you need to have better exposure. It's going on primarily during the summer and spring months. This is when we don't have a lot of sports going on. Like right now, it's baseball and track and field really, but we don't get a lot of things on track and field. We're seeing more things about basketball free agency and where's Kevin Durant going to go. We've been talking about this for a month now. Where's Kevin Durant going to get traded? He demanded a trade. It's not going to change. The story you reported yesterday is not going to be any different than the story you're reporting today. So how about instead of just talking about that, talk about some actual sports that are going on, like track and field, and getting some more notoriety there, because it is exciting, but you're not talking about it. And so that's something that's kind of frustrating, and I wish that we would see, because it's like, look, what are you going to do? Talk about LeBron, how this impacts LeBron's legacy for the 5 millionth time instead of some other sports that are going on? Like, please, let's change it up a little bit here. So there is a possibility for it to improve. Will it? I don't know. I think that USATF is going to have a better relationship with ESPN because NBC, their sports networks aren't big enough, and we don't have any relationship with ESPN, which has these relationships with Sports Center and all that type of stuff. So it's just not going to be a priority for them to put it on there.